Chad Stahelski intends his Highlander reboot to kick off a whole new franchise that includes not only movie sequels, but also a new show. Given the age we're living in, we're bound to see characters of a kind that classic Highlander didn't have, such as openly gay immortals. But how well will that work? How will audiences respond to it? And what will it mean for the future of the Highlander franchise? My name is David McMurdo and welcome to Highlander Lore. We are in the deepest Highlander lore from a Highlander.
We're not on stage here.
Let Hercules himself do what he may. The cat will mew, and the dog will have his day.
Hamlet! Nicely done.
If you look in the comments section of any much viewed video about this Highlander reboot, including those on this very channel, you'll see people dismissing the movie on the basis that it'll be quote-unquote woke, even if they've got nothing to base that assertion on. The sad fact is that movies can't just be the works of entertainment they're meant to be anymore. They must now be perceived as messaging for a side in some supposed culture war, categorised as either woke or anti-woke, and then dismissed or embraced on that basis. And I knew from the start that the Highlander reboot wouldn't escape this fate, because no movie can anymore. We saw it with the recent Masters of the Universe, and we're seeing it now with Supergirl. However, you'll notice that I don't use terms like woke, and there's many reasons for that, one of which is that such terms are pretty useless. Some say you can't define the term woke and others say that you can. The issue is that terms like woke and anti-woke exist to indicate the presence of certain kinds of ideas. So for example, a previously straight character being made gay, a character being race swapped, and overt progressive messaging are just three examples of things that will cause a movie or a show to be categorised as woke and dismissed on that basis. The term woke itself tells you very little, so if a movie or a show I cared about included one of those elements, I'd prefer to focus on the specifics of what the creators did, why they did it, and whether or not it works. I approach behaviour the same way too. To go back to Supergirl, I never had any interest in that movie, but grown men attacking a young actress's appearance isn't behaviour that I'm ever going to want to be associated with, no matter how they'd categorise themselves or justify it. The fact that this level of discourse is so normalised now is just one reason that my videos are the full extent of my interactions with the online world.
You only have one life, you value it.
But let's say that tomorrow the script for the Highlander reboot gets leaked, and let's say that in that script, instead of Connor MacLeod being haunted by the death of his mortal wife Heather in medieval Scotland, he's now haunted by the death of his gay lover Castigear. Now, since Castigear's immortal, he didn't die of old age in medieval Scotland, but was instead beheaded by the Kurgan in place of Ramirez in the original movie, and it's his loss that Connor just never gets over. If such a leak happened, you'd obviously have a million videos being uploaded accusing the movie of being woke, and dismissing it as trash. Now, would I ever take a Highlander reboot in that direction? Definitely not, and I know for a fact that loads of Highlander fans would reject the movie outright, and it would certainly bomb. But while such an idea would be a recipe for a financial disaster, it doesn't mean that it couldn't work well in the narrative of the movie itself. The reason they say ideas are cheap is that execution is far more important. You know, I'm a big fan of Shakespeare, specifically Shakespeare's tragedies, my favourites being Macbeth and Julius Caesar. My favourite screen adaptations of those plays are Roman Polanski's The Tragedy of Macbeth from 1971 and Joseph Mankiewicz's Julius Caesar from 1953. But I'm something of a Shakespeare purist, not in the sense that I insist upon unabridged adaptations because they're almost all abridged, but in the sense that I want adaptations to be period accurate. I'm not even tempted to ever rewatch Kenneth Branagh's epic, unabridged 1996 Hamlet on the basis that he moved the setting forward to the 19th century. And if I was ever forced to rewatch something like Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet, I don't know if I'd survive the experience, even though it's a good movie on a technical level. Well, one day I was browsing Amazon Prime, and I came across an adaptation of Julius Caesar set in 20th century Africa, and while the Shakespeare purist in me would normally avoid deviations from the author's original setting, this version was so far removed that I couldn't not watch it. The fact that it had been directed by Sir Gregory Doran, an absolute master of the craft, also encouraged me. And you know what? I loved every minute of it. It's one of the best acted adaptations of Julius Caesar that I've ever seen.
When Caesar lived, he does not thus have moved me. Peace, peace. You does not so have tempted him. I does not. No. What does not tempt him? For your life! You dost not! Do not presume too much upon my love. I may do that I shall be sorry for. You have done that you should be sorry for!
So, just as with that hypothetical gay Highlander script, would I ever think to set an adaptation of William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar in 20th century Africa? Definitely not. But somebody did, and it works really well. Now, the Highlander reboot that's currently being made may not have any gay characters in it, we just don't know yet. But if it spawns sequels, and definitely if it spawns a new show, we're bound to see a gay immortal eventually. And I don't see why not. If the immortals are people just like everyone else except that they're immortal, then one should expect that there would be gay immortals. I also don't think that anyone would have a problem with this in the way that they would if an established character that was previously straight was made gay in the rebooted universe. But I do think that you have to be careful when creating a gay character or any other kind of minority character and try to ensure that they don't fall into the trap of making that their only characteristic. You know, here's Connor MacLeod, a man haunted by the loss of his wife Heather to the extent that in the modern day he's a brooding loner. Here's the Kurgan, an ancient warrior driven by his lust for power and his determination to claim the prize and rule mankind. Oh, and here's the gay immortal. You would want such minority characters to be as multidimensional as anyone else and not cliches. Besides Highlander, my favourite show from the 90s is The X-Files, and it's pretty amazing how far ahead of its time it was in this area, even from the very first season.
Anybody that knows me knows I keep the ancient beliefs out there and the police working here.
The woman in the pool hall said that people were afraid of some Indian legend. What do they believe happened in the Parker case?
Look, I'm not a park ranger here to answer all your questions about Indians. Whenever I need federal help, I never get it.
I knew you'd have to address this issue of the culture war eventually because things are so polarised these days that all it takes is an actor giving an awkward answer to some dumb question for one side of the internet or the other to explode in outrage. The chances of the Highlander reboot making it to release without such an incident occurring are slim to none. And like I said, there's just no way you're going to have a modern day franchise that doesn't include more progressive elements no matter who's at the helm. And it remains to be seen what the response to that will be. But people project way too much onto actors, directors and producers. Chad Stahelski and Henry Cavill, for example, aren't on any side of any culture war, they're just trying to make the best movie they can. And the problem is that the moment you paint a movie or a show as being representative of your particular worldview, you immediately create opposition to it. Not because those opposed have any real reason to hate the show or the movie, but because you've made it an avatar of a worldview that they do oppose. Since, aside from the members-only content, this is my last video of the month, now's as good a time as any to make clear that I'm utterly disinterested in this whole so-called culture war. And while I take the Highlander franchise seriously to the extent that I know it off by heart and started a YouTube channel about it, in the end it's just entertainment, and I really hope that one day we can return to a place where liking a show or a movie isn't automatically interpreted as an endorsement of some worldview or a rejection of others. Trust me, as someone whose favourite movies of late are the most recent Superman and Joker 2, I've heard more than enough of that. But that's all for now, so thanks for watching, and remember, in the end, there can be only one.
What if he comes after you again?
He won't,
How do you know that?
because I wouldn't.
Well, he's not you.
He's not that different. None of us are. We all make mistakes.
And we all have mistakes to forgive.